All right now. Here we go. Okay, let me see. Make this public so you can share it.
Yes.
Okay, I see you. Here we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
there it
public.
is. Got it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just made it public. All right, how y'all doing? Come on in. Say, girl, Shei Atkins, the self-love journey. Come on in.
Yes.
Come on in and get encouraged and inspired on tonight. About a minute or two, we're gonna get started. We don't wait long. We get started because hey, like I say, you can always go back and
Catch the replay.
catch it. And y'all know this streaming on 3 platforms, so I think the comments that I'm able to see are the ones from Facebook.com/slash that girl Shei Atkins, I think. So I can't see the other ones until I get off and go back and look. So y'all still leave y'all comments and stuff, but I think the ones that I'm able to see that pop up over here is from Facebook.com/slash that girl Shei Atkins. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm excited about
Yes.
tonight.
Yes.
I'm excited and I'm grateful. So about 20 more seconds and we're gonna get started.
Okay.
Mm, I'm loving me. I'm loving me. Want something no less. Yeah, get your outfit ready. Hey, Butler.
Miss
Hey,
Miss
Butler.
hearing
I'm
your
so happy to
voice.
see you. Hey, Brandon. Thank you so much for tuning in, even though I know you got the bail out on me. But it's good to see you. It's good to see you here. So anyway, welcome to the Self Love Journey
Yeah.
Conversations with Shea Atkins, where we learn how to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, where we hear inspiring testimonies and stories from people from all walks of life. And on tonight, we'll be talking with Miss Carnisha Emanuel.
Yes.
We go back some years ago.
Yes.
We used to sing in Gary Mays and New Era together. And
Yeah.
now we just been, friends on social media.
Yeah.
Hadn't really talked. And she interviewed me on her podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And when she interviewed me, I was just listening to the wisdom that was coming out of her, the grace that was coming out of her. She's just such a
Thank you.
woman of grace. It's just on her. She is grace. That should have been her name. Okay. But
I
she's just
love it.
such a
I take that.
graceful woman of wisdom. And I say the people need to hear her story. They need to hear her testimony, because this
Yes.
this self-love journey is about healing,
Mm-hmm.
and inspiration and motivation. Because we all need to know that we matter. We all are
Yeah.
going through something that we're trying to overcome. So I just want to go ahead and get started and
Okay.
let you get into your story. Come on, talk
Okay.
to us tonight. Talk to us tonight.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on. So honored to be on tonight, and um, you've been doing some great work. I went back and watched some of yours, man. Powerful,
Thank
powerful.
you.
Um, my story just goes back quite a few years, and I was in a relationship with a young man that was he was, singing around the city. And so
Hmm.
we kind of just were on the music, gospel music scene, just a lot going from here to there, churches every weekend, blah, 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 doing all of that. And I'm gonna go back a little bit further. When I was 16, I was sexually assaulted. And I bring that up because there were some unhealed wounds that I had um, that were, not addressed. And
Hmm.
I ended up going into a relationship full speed ahead that I should not have um, probably been in.
Yeah.
And definitely don't regret anything because I'm grateful for my daughter. But
Mm.
man, the scars that I end up leaving with were just, man, it took a lot of work to get past it. But, long story short, we dated quite a few years. And there were some maturity things that maturity lessons that we had to learn. And at the end of the day, things didn't work out,
Yeah.
and we end up one day we were at at the doctor's appoint at a doctor's appointment, and he just told me, he said, I can't do this anymore. And I was thinking, what? Like, you can't do the doctor? Like, you can't do any more appointments? Like, what? And he was like, no, I'm not, I don't want to be married anymore to you.
Wow.
And man, when those particular words, it just like a dagger, because at
Yeah.
that point, um, I won't say everything was all bad, but it definitely wasn't all good. And so there was just like a roller coaster that we had kind of been on for a while. And
Yeah.
at that point, it was just the breaking point. And so that day, that particular day was my dad's birthday, and we had a birthday party planned. So, I tell people all the time that when a woman is tired enough,
Yeah.
and that's when you'll go ahead and stop. If she ain't tired, she ain't gonna leave. She ain't gonna let it go.
That's the truth.
And my honest sentiment at that point was I was tired of the up and down of just a lot of dishonesty, a lot of disrespect by way of his actions and things that he was tangled in, and just was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I come from a 2-parent home, have seen my parents be together. They've been together 40 plus years, married 40 plus years. Both sets of grandparents, like all I ever seen was two, husband and wife in there together, grinding, making it work,
Yeah.
through ups and downs. And so I was really, really afraid of the aftermath of going through a divorce because I had no point of reference for it.
Yeah.
Now, there were some people, that I knew of that had gone through or separated. But, as a kid, you just like, oh, so-and-so's not here anymore. You didn't really get much explanation. But the people that I valued and was in close relationship with, it's like we married and forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And so I was really just scared of the reality of being, man, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so, I went to the birthday party, and when I came back, he was gone.
Wow.
And because of the nature of what all he was going through, he was struggling with his lifestyle, and he was,
Uh-huh.
I can only imagine the spiritual turmoil that he was in, but trying to choose what side he wanted to be on in
Yeah.
terms of being with a woman or with a man.
Yeah.
And that was part of what was so hurtful about it, because we that wasn't my first relationship, and that wasn't my first time being cheated
Yeah.
on, but that thing hit different just
Yeah.
because I think we talked about it on your on the episode.
Mhm.
I couldn't compete with it. I couldn't compete
Yeah.
because there was a spiritual aspect of it. It was physical, like I'm physically not what you want. So
Yeah.
it was just really tough trying to navigate through that. And definitely a taboo topic in church, so it's not like I'm about to go sit up and counsel with
Yeah.
somebody about it, because it just
Yeah.
was a whole mess, just trying to figure out and gain my footing day
Yeah.
after day. And so for a long time, I rejected the notion. I was like, no, don't do this, like, please. And I remember being on the phone, like begging, like, please don't do this. Like,
Wow.
let's try to work it out. And because I really was just on some, like, we gotta save face. We gotta try to, you know, mend this and put it back together. And ultimately, after a year, just like a year of going round and round and just this and that, after a year, the divorce was final.
Mhm.
And that's when really the healing journey began. I remember going to my EAP at work, and I was like, I need a therapist, and I need somebody now. And I need somebody
Wow.
who's going to get in there gritty with me. And when I tell you, for 6 months, I went to therapy every Tuesday. Um,
Uh-huh.
every Tuesday. And they only pay for 4 visits. So after that, it was in my pocket.
Yeah.
But when I tell you that work, man, that work was just absolutely life changing, because there were so many unknowns for me,
Oh yeah.
just on how to start taking one foot after the other. So, I had no point of reference for a divorce. I had no
Yeah.
point of reference for a separation. I had no point of reference for even needing an attorney. Like, I ain't even as much as,
Yeah.
been arrested. I didn't know anything about any of that. Really just real green. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a single mother now. Oh, learning how to talk to the attorney generals, like all of
Yeah.
that stuff to me just was just completely foreign. And so I found myself just trying to navigate that space and really heal myself, because there were
Mhm.
some words and a lot of word curses that was spoken in the midst of that relationship, to where it
Wow.
was like, oh, ain't no N word gonna ever want to be with you and your daughter,
Wow.
take you and a daughter, or it just was a lot that was coming to a head after the relationship, because it was just
Yeah.
like, oh, I had gained a lot of weight, and I just was like,
Yeah.
oh, nobody's gonna want me. Here I am with this
Wow.
child, and just going to my job, and I'm living right here next to my grandparents. I was trying to get back in school. I remember I would take her next door and say, my dear, can you keep her while I go to class? And she's like, yeah, bring that baby over here. And it just was a lot of, you know, hustle and
Mhm.
bustle in the midst of me trying to heal. And I remember one day I was like, I can't go to another day of class. I can't fake it anymore. And I just had to stop
Wow.
all extracurriculars and just focus on therapy,
So
because I
is
was just that broken.
wow. Now is it something, that you learn in therapy that, we don't teach in the church?
Oh, absolutely. So, man, so therapy, like I said, that was completely, first of all, so I had a bout with therapy when I was 16. After I got assaulted, my parents put me in immediately. And what it is, a lot of times people are scared of it because they think, the person gonna be telling you, you need to do this and you need to do that. But really, for me, it was just opening my mind up to other solutions and other ways to
Yeah.
think about, you know, what had happened, just
Mm.
reminding me that, hey, a lot of the ways and behaviors that we carry out come from our family of origin. So maybe some of the things he was doing to me, it wasn't about him or me, but it was unhealed things in him. And I just was
Mm.
the, recipient of it because I was right in front of him. But just gives you a lot of insight on, helping you focus on where you want to be versus what you're in right now. Because, in the midst of a divorce, in the midst of, you know, going through legal battles and all of that, you can't see the forest. You're like, I'm not going to ever. I remember one day I was driving to Galveston for one reason or another. I don't remember what I was driving over there for, but I was just like, you know what? If I drive off the side of this causeway, ain't nobody going to care. Nobody will care.
Wow.
And it just
Wow.
spoke to that I was that low, and I
Wow.
had wrapped my value up so tightly in who I was in relationship with.
Yeah.
And that was such an important lesson for me to learn. And part of the reason why I really started my organization, because it's like, for me, I grew up in church, like that's all I knew. And so
Yeah.
all I've seen is these, these notable couples in the church, and that were always in front of me. And so I'm like, okay, this person was a minister of music for 10 years in my dad's church. So we were so heavily ingrained.
Yeah.
And I lost my identity, my own self,
Yeah.
and just trying to be that, musician's wife, pastor's wife,
Yeah.
whatever, he was doing at the time. And I just was very tied up in that. And so when I didn't have it anymore, I
Yeah.
just was so lost. I was so
Wow.
lost because I had just put so much weight
Yeah.
in that. And it's nobody's fault, but I sacrificed a lot. Like, I was in
Yeah.
school still trying to finish my degree, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna still do it. And my parents were like, please just finish before you get married. And I was just
Yeah.
gung-ho on, no, I'm gonna still do it. I'm gonna get married and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it, and I'm gonna, and all of that. And I wasn't able to complete it, because life happens. I wasn't able
Yeah.
to do it yet. So, that's still one of the things that's on my list to complete. But, hindsight is always 2020. It's just like, if I would have just sat down somewhere and listened, or
Wow.
just the way that time allows things to unfold, more stuff that would have unfolded, it would have prevented me from making so much of a mess of the current situation that I was in at the time. But their therapy, going back to it, therapy really helped me to put things in perspective, see the value in myself,
Wow.
learn how to tell myself the truth about situations. Because when
Yeah.
we're in the thick of something, we love to say, "Oh, well, so and so did X, Y, Z, Z's," and so on and so forth. But what did you do that contributed to it? What did
Yeah.
you do that added fuel to the fire? So, I mean, definitely. And I know it's a taboo topic
Yeah.
because, we weren't really taught that in church. We was just taught pray about it and, seek the Lord and he'll give you. And don't get me wrong, spend a lot of time on my knees and before God, just
Yeah.
asking to help. But I think seeking the Lord coupled with therapy, man, that right there is a awesome mashup. And
Yeah.
for me, my mom suffers with mental illness, so I've always seen her. She's always been an advocate of therapy.
Yeah.
And hey, if you need help, you need to talk to somebody. And so in my family of origin, we've always spoke therapy and
Yeah.
advocate for that. So
Wow.
really appreciate having that experience early on and having her speak life to, if you need to go to therapy, if you need to get back in,
Yeah.
you got to do that. So it was very important and just such a important part of my healing that I was able to get in therapy.
Do you still go?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. In the midst of a pandemic, the portal has, went virtual, but I still, every month I have an appointment. And, just even the point that I am in now, kind of just healing from having another baby and not being able to bounce back like I did the first time. Like,
Yeah.
there are always things that you can improve and areas of growth that will
Yeah.
always need to be addressed. So yeah, I definitely am a huge advocate for therapy and doesn't take anything away from, what we've learned and the power of God. But man, sometimes I think that's why medical professionals are put in place. There are some things that
Yeah.
we can use and that would supplement, you know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a blessing.
So did you ever think that or even want to get married again? Like, did you ever think you would get married again?
So initially, initially, like, I was like, nah, like bump that, like I'm good. I'm gonna just be, yeah, I was totally like, oh, it's just me and my baby, we gonna be good. And but it took a while, but God just began to heal my heart and really,
Mhm.
because the thing about it was why I was so devastated is because I felt like um I loved being a wife.
Yeah.
Just
It's a
the
beautiful thing.
yeah, just everything about it,
Beautiful
just
thing.
being in service and being able to build
Yeah.
a life with somebody and
Yeah.
just and also because I wanted more children and for me I wanted to do that in the confines of marriage, so I definitely was like open to it after a long round of healing, but I was definitely open to it. And thankfully after much healing, and it was very important, one of my mentors told me that um she told me something that was so like I pass this on all the time when I'm telling people. She said, you take a month for every year that you were with that person and just heal.
Yeah.
People love to jump into the next thing, and
Yeah.
it would have been real easy to jump into something else
Yeah.
to mask the pain. But she said, no, you sit down and you take a month for every year y'all were together and just heal. Focus on
Wow.
your daughter. Y'all go on walks, you take her to the park, you take her for ice cream, just focus completely on her.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that time just to decompress, really
Mhm.
step back from what had just happened and try to make sense of my life going forward was such an important thing that I needed to do. And, at some point, I remember feeling like, okay, I might be open to the idea of, trying again.
Uh-oh.
And my high school sweetheart, I've known him actually since I was 12 years old, but he was holding a boot camp one day, and I walked up and we just reconnected. And
Mm.
now thankfully it's my husband.
Uh-oh.
And but I'm just grateful for the man at the time. And you and I talked about this at the time. Like it just was so painful, and it just was like putting a knife through your heart and turning that mug. But in retrospect, I just feel that everything that I went through, like, really just fortified me and made me so much stronger and allowed me to know God in a way that I would not have known Him,
Yeah.
because for me, it was like, and I was saved when I was 8 years old, but it was, a lot of times we are riding on the back of mama and daddy's relationship with the Lord. But when I had to
Yeah.
say, hey, I got this little girl who's watching me go through this, like, I had to, Lord, you got to help me come up with something. Like it's gonna have to be more than this. And I
Yeah.
just was like, it was just a time when I could feel almost tangibly, I could feel God like picking me up out of my bed, like get up for the day, like you can do this, you're gonna be all right, wipe your face, all of those different things. And that was a time where it was almost tangible that I knew God was with me, because without Him, I would not have made it. Because there were
Wow.
still days that I was like, oh, nobody will care if I don't show up. Nobody will care if I never show up again. Like,
Yeah.
so it was definitely a tough journey, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all.
So what did you know going into this new marriage that you didn't know when you first got married?
Man, so many things. I think I know now that love is a choice, that it's not a lot of times it is a warm and fuzzy feeling, but once the warm and fuzzy go past,
Yeah.
you have to make a decision every day that I'm gonna do everything that it takes to make this work.
Mm.
Um, I know that marriage is for grown-ups. If
Come
you're
on.
not if you're not ready, if you're not I'm not saying age, but I'm saying in your mind, if you're not
Yeah.
mature enough, if you're not ready to do the work,
Yeah.
then what's the harm in waiting? If it's that person. And it's so funny because with my husband, we I remember when he was leaving to go off to college, and we were standing there again. He was getting ready to go to the airport, and I'll never forget. I'm just crying, boo-hooing, and his dad said, "Hey, y'all, if it's meant to be, some kind of way, it'll be. Like, just it'll be okay." And it was so funny because it's 10, 12, all these years have passed, but we
Yeah.
we would laugh saying, "Hey, I guess it really did come back around." So
Wow.
just trusting God's timing for everything.
Yeah.
Even in this marriage, um, what I know now is that um, it's a true partnership. Marriage is a true partnership. It's not
Mhm.
just what people see on the internet and
Yeah.
taking pictures and date night and all that. It's more than that. It's being there when a spouse or a grandparent dies. It's being there
Yeah.
making decisions for your children. What's best for the
Yeah.
children. It's about sharing the work responsibilities and really smashing gender roles and stuff that sometimes I need him to wash dishes and he's cool with that. Sometimes he needs me to hold up the rear in the business. And so many things um that I didn't know as a result of just age, but also just being caught up in the feelings of it versus
Yeah.
being able to really make a informed decision, and knowing that love involves sacrifice. It also is
Yeah.
um sacrificial and all of those different things
I
that,
agree.
yeah, so
You have to
it's
have two people that's willing,
willing.
If it's only one
Yeah,
trying to do the work,
yeah. And
it's
that's
not gonna
that's
work.
something that I really realized. Like I could hear myself when I was begging him, like, please,
Yeah.
like, make it work. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he just wasn't, he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I have to respect that now. But hearing myself asking, just please, make it work.
Yeah.
It was just me. It was just one person that really wanted to try. And so I think as women too, because we're so we have that nurturing, spirit.
Yeah.
We like, oh, I can make anything, I can put anything back together. Like this thing
Yeah.
gonna work. And
Yeah.
my mom says all the time that anything, under the power of God, anything that's been misaligned can be realigned.
Mhm.
But both parties have to want to
Yeah, I
realign it,
agree.
and it's so
And
important.
I agree. And the thing about it is, if somebody doesn't want you, or you can't sex enough, you
That
can't cook enough,
that
you can have the flattest stomach, the
that
biggest butt, the perkiest breast.
Yep.
But if this person is
Yes.
not willing to put in the work, they can only
Yes.
love you as far as they love themselves.
That yes. And
And
that
you have
is
to
a
understand that.
that's a true statement,
It
because
is.
there are so many. I remember, like, I can replay in my mind conversations that were, about my weight, about my size, about my hair, about this
Yeah.
and that, and a list of things that weren't, to this person's liking. But my husband, who we're in a just a totally different it's just a totally different space. That
Yeah.
is, when I'm feeling the way about my weight, it's like, let me encourage you and let me help you, and what, be a support to your journey versus pulling you down when
Yeah.
you're, kicking you when you're already down. So it's just
Yeah.
so important to have a relationship and do life with somebody who wants to support you, and can pull up the rear when you might not be at your best.
Now, did you see any signs of that behavior before you got married? Because, you
That's
proceeded,
a question.
when somebody
Yeah,
might be getting ready to proceed into a situation where they getting broken down and
yeah,
they still walking into,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, so there are. I mean, again, hindsight, there were a lot of signs. There was a lot of signs, and because, so I'm gonna be honest, before I got married to him, I never was in a close relationship or knew any man that was gay.
Mm.
So for me, it was like I didn't. It didn't really. But in hindsight, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of like questionable groups and hangouts, and it's like, what? What is this? But
Yeah.
again, growing up in the church, and that's something that we really have to figure out how to address. But
Yeah.
that culture is very prevalent, and
Yeah.
it's really kind of like a blind eye turned, and nobody really addresses it. But there were a lot of,
Yeah.
like I said, questionable friends and link ups
Yeah.
and things that were happening. And
Yeah.
I remember one day I came home from work, and it was just a big group of guys in the kitchen, and I'm just like, I was
Yeah.
more annoyed because I came home from work, but and everybody chilling in the kitchen. But at the same time, um, I just was like starting to feel like this is weird. And then there were some things like in our personal, intimate relationship that were kind of questionable to me, but I
Yeah.
second guessed myself a lot because I wasn't very experienced before I got with him.
Yeah.
So it was like, I thought, marriage was supposed to be like hanging from the chandelier, but it was like, on a different.
Yeah.
And then there were some things like paraphernalia and things that I would find in the house that it was like,
Yeah.
okay. There were also like some, um, uh, what do you call it? Some like pornographic things. Like I would get
Yeah.
alerts on my
Yeah.
internet, like a so
Yeah.
and so site has been accessed, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but again, for me, all of that had never. I had no experience with porn, no experience with any of that. So
Uh-huh.
I just was dealing with the trauma of being introduced to this within my marriage, and then like up until that point, like this good Christian girl. So I had no point of reference for all of this, and then I'm just thrown into this kind of other side, and I have to kind of learn how to compensate and be a wife to this, and also have a daughter and keep my weight up and have a certain look. And even there were a lot of things um, that were just you felt it. I felt it in the gut of in my gut, in my stomach, and
Yeah.
in my heart. And essentially the Holy Spirit, like, pay attention to this, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But, and after the fact, we had a lot of conversations after the fact. And I would say, okay, was X, Y, and Z? And he'd be like, yeah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
once the
Yeah.
stuff came out, I was just like, man.
Yeah.
But I think for women, and I saw it was funny because I saw a post the other day, and the lady was saying, "Can we just discuss like how many women are in relationship with closeted men and nobody's saying anything?"
Wow.
And when I read the post, I just was like, and I was looking through the comments, and I just was like, it's a tough thing to address. It's really a tough thing to address because you never want to come across in a judgmental way. And really,
Yeah.
in my personal situation, I really believe, and I know that he didn't intend to ruin my life per se with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was struggling with something spiritual, and
Yeah.
I just so happened to be a casualty because of my lack of,
Yeah.
because I was so naive and so that area. But um, yeah, I think that there are, even if I didn't know exactly what it was, there
Yeah.
was a pull in my spirit that says, wait, there's a pull in my spirit that says, okay, pay attention to this. And
Yeah.
so I was really young at that time in my journey and really learning discernment and
Yeah.
learning how the Lord was speaking to me. And so there were a lot of things that again I needed to pay attention to, and I knew and I know I feel something, but I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
for me now, I know, like, if I feel this, that means hold up,
Yeah.
just I'm gonna show you when I need
Yeah.
to show you it's gonna unfold. But yeah, it was,
Yeah.
in hindsight, there were a lot of things that I should have paid attention to.
Yeah. And I know we're not always gonna get it right, but I think it's important to have conversations like this
Oh
because
yeah,
a part of self-love is being able to let go.
yes,
You can't be scared to lose something or
yeah,
someone.
yeah,
You have to be able to choose you when you see. Don't
yeah,
wait till the last minute to when, now they, hey, I don't want you no more. When you
hmm,
saw it coming a long time ago, you
yeah,
have to be able to choose you
yeah,
when it
absolutely.
ain't
I
right.
think that was part of what therapy helped me with, to tell myself the truth. Like, because after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, 9, 10, 11 months passed and nothing had changed,
Mhm.
she was like, is this, I mean, at this point, do you want to be with a man who will make you wait a year to give you an answer?
Mm.
Do
And so is
you,
that the truth you needed? The truth
oh, yeah. Yeah,
of
because see, I was struggling with being a, like, I'm being a good wife, and I'm a hold on to the wheels fall off.
mm,
But there have been, like you said, many things of like blatant state. I don't want you. I don't want to be married. I don't want this. I don't want to do it anymore. There were so many instances of those
wow.
conversations, and
You didn't want to accept it.
I didn't want to accept it.
Wow.
I didn't want to accept it because I just couldn't fathom, like, oh, I'm strong. I've been through this when I was 11. I've been through this with my family. I've been through this when I was 16. Like, I'm strong. I can do this.
Yeah.
I can,
Wow.
make sense of it. And the Lord was just like, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, just stop.
No.
And,
Yeah.
even as recently as a couple months ago, we had a conversation, and he was like, are we good? And I'm like, yeah, we're good. Like, I've done a lot of the work,
Yeah.
and I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not mad at anybody. I don't
Yeah.
feel nothing negative towards anybody, because
Yeah.
again, I can stand here and I can flat footed say, if I hadn't been through X, Y, and Z, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today.
Yeah.
And although it didn't feel good at the time,
Wow.
I had to,
Yeah.
it had to happen.
Yeah. Now, like for me, I went on a self-destructive path. I didn't go to therapy. I was cutting up. It had it not been for the Lord had to, humble me. Because I was out there like, psh, I ain't trying to hear what y'all talking about. It's all about me. It's all about the turner right now.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
But see, I was on a, like, once I finally got divorced, I was like, I was on some undercover stuff. See, like, I was
Mm.
moving around, and I think I shared with you, like, I was essentially high all day off of prescription medicine because I just
Wow.
still didn't want to face it. So I'm in the midst of
Yeah.
therapy, trying,
Oh.
writing pages of notes, but
Yeah.
still self medicating because it was just that much pain to
Yeah. That
me.
pain.
Like,
Yeah.
leading up to the Friday when we got to do the exchange with the baby, like, that would make me anxious. Even though
Yeah.
nothing there, I didn't want to be with him, he didn't want to be with me, but just
Yeah.
that act of, exchanging the child was a constant reminder of you know a failed effort in my life. And so I would
Yeah.
medicate with pain, or I was entertaining guys that I knew that was not husband material, and I
Yeah.
would just, I would let them take me to dinner, let them
Yeah.
take me shopping. But as soon as it turned into, they ready to take it to the next level, it's like, oh no, I was
Yeah.
just on something else. So I wasn't really
Yeah.
outward with mine, but I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't living nothing, but in a different, different way.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that's watching that's probably going through, that pain? Because what you do with that pain is going to determine how you move forward. So somebody that's in that pain right now, or might have heard, I don't want you no more. How would you encourage them?
That's such a man, that's such a hard thing to hear. And your initial is just, I know my initial was just being shattered to pieces,
Mhm.
because a lot of us tie our worth to the relationships that we're in, or our marital status, or things of that nature. And so when something is threatening change,
Mm.
we I know I didn't respond well. And
Yeah.
a lot of the initial reactions were not good. I'm not proud
Mhm.
of it, but I did a lot of cursing people out. I did a lot of, like,
Wow. Yeah.
retaliating and telling him this, and then you ain't this and you
Yeah.
ain't that, and all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So the initial is to retaliate, like, oh, you have hurt me to my core. What can I
Uh-huh.
pull and dig up to hurt you?
Yeah.
But, in retrospect, I know that one of the main things that I had to do was continue to tell myself the truth about the
Mm.
situation. Because,
Mhm.
we paint a picture in our mind of how we, want a thing to be portrayed, and we want the narrative to be this and that. But um, it's important to tell myself the truth, meaning, um, this happened. I've been through a divorce, but guess what? I'm still valuable. God still
Come
loves
on.
me. My family still loves me. I can recover. I'm still beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like my daughter, somebody with open and willing arms love me and my
Yeah.
daughter as a package. Um, there's restoration for me. There's hope for
Yeah.
me. There's love for me. And just begin to tell yourself these things,
Yeah.
and continue to pump that positivity into your spirit and your heart and your mind. And you know a lot of times we have to remember this: majority of the time when someone is acting out and someone is hurting you with their behavior, majority of the time it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this conversation with him many times, and I just was like, well, what could I have done? And it was
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
nothing. It wasn't about you. It was
Wow.
about something that was going on in my heart and in my soul. And, ultimately, us separating and divorcing saved my life, because this person probably was going to continue, doing the stuff on the side. Who's to say I
Yeah.
wouldn't have ever came back with, you know, a deadly disease? Who's to
Yeah.
say I wouldn't have been a part
Yeah.
of some, lovers quarrel? Who knows what would have happened? And so I just
Yeah.
continue to tell myself, oh, that situation, it hurt, but it saved your life that y'all end up
Yeah.
going y'all separate ways. And
Uh-huh.
um, continuing to tell myself the truth about that situation. And when I tell you there
Yeah.
are so many women, even down to the specific instance of dealing with a man who is struggling with his identity, I have talked to
Mm.
women that were in the same exact thing. And I just have to thank God, like, man, again, it hurt at the time, but who would have
Yeah.
thought that I would have been able to share my testimony and tell her on the other side of this, hey, we're 10, 12 years removed, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all right. And my daughter's all right.
Wow.
And, God is still able to use me, because just because we're broken at a time doesn't mean that God can't use us. And He doesn't waste any experience. So I try to, maximize
Yeah.
and definitely share everything that I've been through, because you never know
Wow.
when it's going to help somebody else.
That's beautiful. Now let me ask you this, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything. I ain't been through everything. I was with
Mm-hmm.
my ex for a long time, from like
Yeah.
19 years old to
Oh,
35.
wow.
So
Yeah.
I haven't had a, you know, serious relationship since then. So, and I want I like being a wife too. So
Yes.
when you went in, did you have any fears or insecurities, or little baggage?
Oh,
Because I know I got things I need to work on, and they haven't been
man.
triggered because I haven't been with anybody. So that part of me hasn't
Oh,
been tested. So for people watching, and for me too, when you went in, was it some things that was like, oh Lord, I don't
so
know.
yeah, definitely. I think one of the most important things was for me to be honest about where I had been. And,
Mhm.
a lot of times we want to give the surface story, but excuse me, once you use your best judgment, you'll know when it's time to share. Excuse me.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
with him knowing the full of what I went through,
Mhm.
um, he was able to be a little bit more compassionate on some of my outbursts and my,
Oh wow.
mood swings and my
Yeah.
fears, and
Yeah.
even things that are hard stops for me, that are like, I I can't do the X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z because of my
Yeah.
past, and
Yeah.
vice versa. Everybody has a limit and some hard stops that are just like, I can't. I don't even want to play with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of work to be done. And part of the reason I want to share this is because a lot of times when people, it's a big thing on the internet, like, don't let a man date you for longer than 2 years. But
Yeah.
see, my situation was, we're a blended family. We both had kids, and it took longer than 2 years for us to get everything together. And it's nothing
Wow.
wrong with that if it takes longer.
Wow.
You got all
Yeah.
these gurus telling, "Oh, don't let them
Yeah.
date you this long," and don't. And
Yeah.
I get the gist of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every situation is not going to be cookie cutter. And honestly, if we would have got married after 2 years, we probably would have been divorced already. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? You got to do what's best for your unit.
Yeah.
And there are just a lot of things that only time will reveal.
Wow. I agree with that.
There are
Yeah.
only
I
things that
agree.
time will reveal. And so I'm appreciative of the journey. I'm also appreciative of how patient he was with me,
Yeah. Yeah.
because just after that type of breakup and that type of relationship, there's a lot of trauma
Yeah.
there. There's a lot of trauma there.
Yeah.
And
Thank God for him. Because I feel like wrong people will take advantage of your vulnerability.
absolutely.
They will see you in a vulnerable state, and they will use that. So, oh, she's weak, I can use her. But the
Yeah.
right one will walk you through it, and be patient with you, and
Yes.
help build you up. But the wrong one will
Yes.
take advantage of that. You have to be wise to that.
Absolutely. I mean,
For
and to,
real.
to even to that point is, we were actually just in the car a few minutes ago before we got on, and I was sharing something that I'm, kind of struggling with. And
Yeah.
he said, babe, don't worry about it. I'm gonna help you. And he said that, I'm just glad to be, a part of your journey and support you. And even though that's small statement,
Yeah.
something
That's
like that
big
is
to
just
me.
like, man, I could just rest in that, because
Yeah.
when you have somebody that's willing to
Yeah.
support and love,
Yes.
and continues to help me pull back the layers where you like, I
Yeah,
got this wall
exactly.
up and I've had this,
Yeah.
gate around my heart. Like, you ain't gonna
Yeah.
hurt me again. And that's
Come
kind of
on.
where I was initially. I'm like, oh, kind of borderline turning into this little savage, creature.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
my nature at all. Like,
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah.
soft, I'm very warm,
Yeah.
I'm nurturing, I'm loving. I'm like, babe, give me a kiss. That's my thing all day. And
Yeah.
I found myself just turning into this, like, oh, I'm not, I see you and I'm this and that. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
not even me. So, these characters that got me acting
That's
all
that
crazy, like
defense
this,
mechanism coming up.
yeah, that's not it. This is not the man for me. So I finally, got to a place where it's like, and something that's been just helpful is you just gotta continue to communicate. You gotta
Yeah,
continue to
yeah,
communicate. And I think
yeah.
that's just even
It's
things
so
that are
important.
hard to communicate, you got to just try and fight through it and say what
Yeah.
you got to say. And that's been one of the most helpful things for us is just continue to have those conversations.
It's so important to have a soft place to land. Have
Yes,
somebody that
yes.
you can talk to and share with who actually cares about how you feel.
Mhm.
If you're
Mhm.
with somebody that don't care how you feel,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I
Yeah.
I don't think because I've been in unhealthy attachments where I done poured out my heart and shared and
Nothing.
nothing,
Yeah.
no
I think
response, no words,
that's
and it's like,
that's
oh,
one of the things my mom says about my dad is he's her soft place to fall.
oh,
And I
mm,
love that, and
yes,
just so grateful that I've been able to be in that place. And because I'm by nature very, like, very emotional, very sensitive,
me
very,
too.
like, and it's just a blessing to be in a place where it's like, whew,
Yeah,
you can just take that deep breath. And
yeah,
especially just being in the midst of trauma for years, and
yeah,
like always looking over your shoulder, wondering what's going on. And
yeah,
even I even had, I'll tell you this, this is so weird, because this person that I used to talk to had, so much going on with his phone. It was like always face down, and it was always like,
yeah,
oh, don't touch my phone. And it was like,
yeah,
very, cell phones were like a big deal. And
yeah,
to the point of, like, my husband, he would try to show me something on his phone, and it would be like, oh, I glanced at it, but I had this trauma associated, like, oh,
yeah,
I'm not even gonna look at your phone. I'm not gonna
yeah.
look this way. And he's like, I'm literally trying to show you something, like, read this on my phone.
Wow.
And
It
it
took you
just
back to
spoke
that.
to the
Wow.
trauma that we sometimes just experience. I
Yeah,
didn't realize I had a thing with cell phones, but it was like,
yeah.
oh, this man really is wanting me to read this article. And I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, that
briefly.
you gonna see something.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm just grateful to get, and
yeah,
every day is a, learning experience and a work in progress. But man, I'm just leaps and bounds from where I
yeah,
was. I was a hot mess, child. Hot
yeah. And
mess.
let me ask you this too. When you hooked up with him again, uh, were you looking for it, like, or did it come into your life unexpectedly?
Oh, it was so unexpected. It was so funny because I literally was just like, um, I was divorced. I wasn't seeing anybody, and I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna lose some weight. I'm gonna get into shape. And I found a boot camp, and I literally, like, walked up on it, and he was like, "Where's your wedding ring?" And I was like, "I don't have a wedding ring." And he was like, "Why?" I was like,
Uh-oh.
"Because I'm not married." And then, it kind of just,
And it
you
just happened
know,
like that. You coming to
happened.
work out
Yeah,
advance.
I just really was like, I got to do something with myself, and I got to,
Mm,
try to make some improvements. But I was
wow.
not looking for it
But
because
you were open to it.
I was open. I was open. I was open
Okay.
at that point, but I definitely was not looking. And
Mm.
even with being open, I still had a lot of, stuff to work through. There was that fear of, like, man, just putting myself out there again, putting my heart on this line. Like, what if
Mhm.
this doesn't work out?
So how
Or,
did he win your heart?
well, I mean, there was a lot of things that just conversations. And I remember early on just some of the things that he would say to me, like, when we would be having conversations, and
Look at me smiling. I'm,
I see
I'm
you,
into it.
like, he would tell me, I see you, like, I really see and understand you. And or just the smallest thing, like he would remember, we went to a little Valentine's party a couple years back, and they were
Mm-hmm.
asking like, "Oh, how did y'all meet?" or "What was y'all first date?" and different stuff like this. He's telling play by play. Our first date was Jagged Edge concert, which it was, but this was like
Wow.
Hofheinz Pavilion, 1999 or something like that. But just the
Wow.
small details that mattered to him, or
Yeah.
just he knows that I like holding hands, so he'll
Come
hold
on.
my hand, or just so many small things. And to me, the small things, when they like
Yeah.
become big, when they're
Yeah.
consistent. So
That's right.
there are so many things, but just more than anything, him listening. And
Mm.
if a person tell you they don't like mustard, and you keep putting mustard on their sandwich, like, you're not listening to me.
Yeah, right.
But there are so many things that I've said just in passing that
Yeah.
he'll remember or recall. And or he, even most recently, with me doing my podcast, just
Yeah.
supporting what I want to do. He's like, "All right, babe, I was like, I need help with my setup." So he made some adjustments in the bedroom so I can set up my
Come on.
station and everything. Just small things like supporting what I want to do. And I told him, "Hey, I'm about to get back on my journey and do this." He's like, "All right,
Yeah.
what you need?" So just that, having that soft place, but also being able to really lean on his strength as a man, like a provider and protector. He's like really all encompassing in that role, and I really appreciate that. It
Come
reminds
on.
me a lot of how my dad was,
Come
and
on.
that was totally different from what I experienced in my previous marriage, because it was like a lot of just basic
Yeah.
decision making was on me, and that began
Yeah.
to be heavy on my
Yeah.
shoulders. So
That's
now
a
it's like
beautiful
I
thing.
ain't got to worry about, you know, some of the things that I did before. And it's like, thank you, Lord. Such a weight lifted. Um,
Yeah.
and such a prayer that's been answered. So,
It's beautiful. So let's talk about how you turn your pain into purpose and your mess into a message so people can support you and follow you on your
okay.
journey of helping others. What you
Okay.
got going
So,
on?
um, I've done some etiquette. Well, really, it was etiquette classes that have turned into like little sessions with the young ladies at the Boys and Girls Club of Houston. I've done some a life coaching certification, and so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
taking
yeah.
clients. We both on my mentor,
We are.
and so just being able to help people just kind of make some sense and get some strategies for how they want to continue their life. So I'm doing life coaching
Yeah.
on my website, just trying to put out blogs like share, just
Yeah.
anything that I can think of that might help somebody.
Yeah.
And then finally, my organization, Valuable and Vibrant. I started that just because I want to remind women of my value, like of their value.
Yeah.
Remember, when I was at my lowest, and I just
Yes,
was like,
Lord.
man, if I can just help somebody, not give up when they're at their
Yeah.
lowest, and let them know, hey, it might be 2 years, might be 5 years down the line, but you're gonna be okay at some point.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be good. And I'm trying to finish this book. I don't know when it's gonna be finished, but I'm working
Yeah.
on it. It's
Come
called
on.
Lessons Learned at Midnight.
Come on now.
Just gonna be a culmination of things that I've learned at some of the lowest points that I've been in my life. But
It's beautiful.
we know that sometimes the victory is like right around the corner when it's darkest. So
Yeah. And what about the podcast?
yes, my podcast, Valuable and Vibrant Talk, just bringing people on like yourself who are
Yeah.
willing to share openly and
Yeah.
transparently. And, something that's been very important for me is that, and no knock to anybody, but when I grew up, the culture in church was that, um, will you just will know what we tell you. But some of the
Mm,
deep things that we as young ladies needed to know, I didn't get those, straight less like tell
yeah,
me the real, give me the
yeah,
real, because it's real out here.
yeah.
And that's what I try to do. I'm telling my 11-year-old, she's like, Mom, what about this and that? And it's like, well, how you know about that?
Oh Lord.
But we had to have these conversations because
Yeah, we
they are
do.
exposed to so much more than we were.
That's true.
And, I always said I need her to get it from me. So
Yeah,
my first commitment is to my daughter to always be open and honest with her about my life experiences and never
yeah,
give her anything that's not age appropriate. But if she hit me with
yeah,
this, I'm gonna hit you with the
yeah.
same, response. So just trying to be open and honest about my experiences. And so far, so good. My mom always told me people can't hurt you with information that you gave them. So when I
Yeah,
tell my story, when I tell you
yeah,
I'm divorced, when I tell you,
yeah,
I was, my credit was trash when we, got divorced, and
yeah,
I worked hard on it and all of those things. Like, you can't hurt me with that information because I told
yeah,
you. So I'm gonna keep
yeah.
sharing. And I'm just blessed to be at this place in my journey, and just excited to see what God's going to continue to do and unfold.
That's powerful. You keep on walking and doing your thing. Keep
Thank you.
on helping people. Keep on helping us heal out here. We need it.
You
Y'all
too,
follow
Shay. You
her.
doing your thing.
Yeah, thank you. And y'all go to her website and support her. Listen to her podcast and hire her as a life coach if you need. What you coach on?
I'm relationships, divorce,
Oh,
and
okay.
healing.
Okay, so y'all hit her up if y'all need that. Y'all hit me up on self love. If you want to learn how
Yes.
to love yourself, the basics, I'm gonna give
Yeah.
you some assignments and things like that. My mentor.life slash Shei Atkins. And
Yes.
yours is my mentor.life slash
Carnisha Joy.
come on now.
Yes.
Hire my girl. She got something for y'all, okay? So anyway, thank you so much for sharing your story. It was
Yes. Thank
beautiful. You're such a
you.
beautiful person and
Thank you,
I just
Shay.
pray that God continue to take you higher and higher.
Yes. Amen. You too.
And I want to thank y'all for tuning in and I love y'all. Thank y'all for y'all support always. And God bless y'all. And we'll holler at y'all in the next show. Look at AJ. AJ say great show. Let's see what the people see.
All
Great show.
right.
Thank you so much. AJ, I love you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Butler, thank you so much for watching. Say the Lord love you. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Lashana. Lashana said, great episode, ladies. Wisdom,
Oh,
encouragement, and
amen.
transparency.
I
This
love
will help so
Lashana.
many. I love
She
Shan
is so
too.
awesome.
I love, she is the epitome of just, I can't
Isn't
even, I
she?
don't have no,
She's coming
I
on
ain't
my
got no words for
podcast
her.
next week. I'm so excited,
Wow, that's going
man,
to be
because
beautiful, Lord.
she's been a beast in the spirit for a long
Oh,
time.
Lord. She like our Juanita Man.
Yes.
But she even further than that. I
Yes.
can't, she do so many things. God just,
Yes.
who thank you, Lord, for using her in this
Yes.
season. So, who else
Yes.
on here? Oh, Charles. Hey, Charleston. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. I see all your comments on YouTube. I appreciate your support and your kindness. And all right, we finna get on out of here.
All
And you can
right.
go tend to boo.
I go play Scrabble with my husband.
That's so sweet. Come on now. A family that play together
Yes.
and
We
pray
love
together, stay
Scrabble.
together. All
Yes.
right, now. That's so sweet. All right, y'all. Hey, Tina. You know Tina? Thank you so
Mm-mm.
much for tuning in.
Thank y'all
Thank
for
you. I'm so
watching.
glad you enjoyed it and watched it. Thank you so much. All right, bye, y'all. See
Bye.
y'all next time. Go back and watch it over and over again.